Now, I'm going to ask you a very appropriate question. Don't laugh. But
Mhm.
is your booty real? Because it's huge and I don't know where you got it. Is it genetics? Is it from the gym, the food, or all of the above? I have to know.
I was always in sports, but I was always skinny. And I knew that lifting weights would make you get some shape on you.
Hey everyone, welcome back to a new episode on the Divinely Disruptive podcast. I'm your host, Jane Powers. If this is your first time tuning in, I'm so happy you found us. This podcast is all about leveling up your life and creating space to dream again. I try my best to keep these episodes very diverse, and I want you guys to have some real takeaways, real life lessons that you can apply immediately. So today's guest is an occupational therapist, fitness enthusiast, and an incredible single mom. And I cannot wait to dive into this amazing conversation. And we actually met over a dinner, and I'm so excited to have her here. So thank you for making it.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Yes, you look great. It's been a minute.
I know, it's been a while.
So for people who haven't had the honor to meet you, tell us a little bit of your background, where you're from, and what brought you to the city of Vegas.
Oh, okay. So I'm from Texas, been here for about almost 4 years. I am an occupational therapist, pediatric occupational therapist. I also have a mobile practice and I do private therapy for children and also do some soft tissue release. And I also am starting up my online coaching. And I'm a mama. And so what brought me to Vegas is I actually was engaged before. So I came here for my ex-fiance. So
I did not know that.
Yes.
So thank you for going in.
Yeah.
Wow, I did not know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, girl, I uprooted my life, me and my son's life for something that didn't quite work out. But truthfully, everything happens for a reason. And I'm thriving here. Honestly, I love Vegas. It's been working out.
And I was going to say, even just sharing that little, insight to your life, I want people to listen and watch, people that are resilient like yourself. Like, we're not all perfect. We're not always put together. So even when you shared that, I'm like, girl, you didn't tell me. I wasn't ready for that, But no, really, I think I don't want to even call it secrets, but we all are struggling or overcoming aspects of our life that maybe aren't so public, but I really appreciate you sharing that because that's a very personal, detail of your life and what brought you here. But back to the thriving, I feel like what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And even since I saw you last, you're already light years ahead spiritually and strength-wise. So let's chat a little bit about even just faith walk and your spirituality and how you were able to even overcome that moment in your life.
So I grew up in a small country town. So I don't know if you know how that is, but it's very, very so much. Everyone goes to church on Sunday. So I was raised walking with the Lord. I went to a private Christian school for my grad school. And then after that, you go in and out of your walk with the Lord, but it's always been in my life. I was actually going to ask you too, because I was watching your episodes and I just hear everyone's like, well, I put God first and I put God first. And I think that's amazing. But I want to know what that looks like in people's perspectives, because it might look differently for me. Because when people say, oh, you put God first, like, what does that even look like?
No, I love that. I would say, so for example, off the record, we were just chatting how when I meet people, especially when I met you too, I just initially felt this spiritual comfort and I didn't feel competition. Like, even though you're brilliant, you're beautiful, you're strong, you're fit, something in me was like, lean on her, ask her how she's doing, ask her maybe some deep conversation. So maybe to someone on the outside, it might seem like, oh, Jane's just being social or she's being an extrovert. To me, putting God first and living a faith life, it's not about preaching religion or making people feel guilt, shame, or sinful, but more so just being so authentically bright and creating a space of love and light. It might sound cheesy, but for me, that is how I show up in the world. And that's how I feel is most natural to me. You know, do I know the Bible front and back? No. Could I remember scripture? No. I'm working on that, but I feel like everything starts somewhere. So for me, I feel like it's the little things that actually become the greater things. And maybe one day, me just saying hello to a stranger or noticing someone's down or depressed, not judging the depression, but more so, hey, babe, like, are you okay? I'm here for you. But it's all about the tone and the posture versus, girl, you look rough. What's wrong with you? Or you look depressed, or you gained some pounds. What's wrong with you? But, you know, even when we had a couple dinners without any judgment, I was like, I don't really know you, but I always wanted to sit next to you, or I always wanted to follow up. I know when we went to Toca Madera months ago, you know, I caught up on what you told me last time, like, how's the fitness? How's your son? And I remember you being like, whoa, you remembered that? I'm like, well, duh. I mean, yeah. So I think just showing people that you care for them as a human being, like a living being on earth, to me, that's spiritual. To me, that's shedding God's love and light to the world around us.
Okay, I like that.
So simple. So yeah, for me, I don't want to sit here and be like, oh, I'm the holiest, I'm the mightiest. I mean, you saw in the first episode, I didn't realize that I live with depression. People talk about depression, people talk about anxiety, and even that truth, you don't need to have shame in it. So for me, I recognize that it could be genetics too, but there is a little bit of depression and anxiety in my blood. But that doesn't mean I'm going to make myself feel bad and people who live in it feel bad, but more so use it as almost like a power tool and be like, okay, since I know how it feels, if I can sense someone else deals with it, why don't I literally sit next to them? And why don't I literally encourage them and just comfort them? And if they want to talk, great. And if not, great. Just like us sitting down right now talking.
Right.
You could share whatever you want, but you could also choose not to share anything. So I'm thankful that I could create that safe space for you, and you've already done the same. And so anything you might need, I'm there for you. I know you said you wanted like consultation clients for that, booty gains, which we'll talk about in a minute. But you remember my answer. I was like, all right, sign me up, call me whenever, let's go. So we just have to be very self-aware about how we show up, but also pay attention to how other people may or may not show up for ourselves. And it's not about walking in a way where we're preaching, oh, we're better than you. But I've learned the hard way. I'm okay to love people at a distance. I'm also okay to have discernment and discipline with how I choose to spend my time with people. Just like fitness, right? I mean, you know way more than me. I can't wait to have a physique like you. But when you're in a gain train, or maybe you are on a leaning out train, you know this. Those paths, you cannot do the same thing and expect the results that you're looking for. So same with faith, same with the mindset, same with our spirituality. Do you want to become healed and whole, or do you want to continue to feel so much corruption and brokenness and darkness? I hate to say this, but ultimately we actually have to make a decision. So, when I went to go grab you for this podcast, I'm like, girl, I don't see nobody. I don't go out, but I'm very mindful when I do. So even right now, sure, we're interviewing each other and having this moment, but I want you to just feel empowered to lean more intimately with your spirit rather than religion, because I also grew up in the Church of Christianity, but everybody knows I'm all about preaching a relationship with God, a higher power I call ultimately God, but I'm not here for division. I'm not here to make people left out, but create a safe space, whether they're watching or listening. Hey, I'm a hot mess, you're a hot mess, and that's okay. And so are they. But we're going to be here right now.
Got it. Yes.
Okay, I go off. When it comes to faith and my mental health, I go off because it's everything.
Absolutely. So back to your question with,
Yeah.
faith. I've been in and out with my relationship and walk with God. So whenever I moved here, it was hard. I see you're kind of tearing up. And I would love to. I never actually got to hear.
It's fine. We never really got to talk. We're always like busy or out doing events. Yeah.
But I know you're passionate about it, because every time I see you, you're like, you ask me questions about faith, and I really appreciate that, because I don't get that. I don't get that a lot. So I really appreciate that. But it's gotten me through a lot, talking with Lord. And the way I put God first is so you know how people will say, like, okay, God comes here, and then my family, and da 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 da. Okay. I don't see it quite like that. I see it more like, okay, I'm a mom, and then my relationship with God is a somewhat of a reflection of how I parent. I slip up, we all do. I take out my anger on my son. And so that's what I mean, like, when I kind of veer away from that. And so that's kind of what I mean whenever God comes first, like in my job. I do it for, helping kids. Everything you do it for, God, Corinthians verse, whatever. So that's kind of how I involve God in my whole life. So that's to answer your question. Like, it's just always been ingrained in me. I grew up, but I've had my times,
No, and the fun part too is even walking in the Spirit and just moving with God in you and around you, you're able to see and feel things more. I know that sounds whack, but even for me, I almost felt rebellious because I grew up in the faith, like, another God thing, or another church thing, or another Bible study. I honestly took it for granted for most of my life. And it wasn't till I moved to Vegas, again, as you saw in the first episode, I was just bearing my life in pride and ego. And even if people hurt me, it was like, I'm not going to deal with it right now, so I'm just going to stuff it. And then when I had the opportunity to just pause and have some time off, not by choice necessarily, but I had to take initiative, like, okay, either I'm going to sit at home and cry every day and just stare at the wall complaining, or, okay, Jane, if you want to make a big change in your life and have a big result that you've never experienced in your life, what are you going to do differently? So nobody taught me that. Nobody coached me. But when you face rock bottom, just in real time, and it's happening to you and for you, it's like, excuse my language, but shit, it's do or die time. Because sometimes not everyone's going to be there to pick you up. Let's be honest. So in that moment, it was like, okay, literally, God, I know you. I think I know you. Actually, I'm really far from you, but please, God, I need you to actually hear me today. I need you to actually help me today, because I thought I was living the dream, living the best life. But in that moment of brokenness, I realized I never really put God in the center or highlighted God in the center. So even as you're sharing, like, your works, your action involve God, that is beautiful. That is powerful. So in that moment, I asked God, redirect me, help me find God purpose, and help me find intention in this life. Screw everything I know. And then, no joke, months later, I was like, oh my God, I love talking. I love learning. I love interviewing people. I love gaining wisdom from others, because that allows me to have more wisdom. I've always listened to podcasts. I'm going to do one. I'm not kidding. It was just that. And then, boom, here we are. So my joke of the century right now is like, I'm still looking for a job though. But right now, I'm literally going all in on my God purpose and my God intention. And it's not about me, but through me, that people are going to be touched, healed, inspired. And I do feel like you're also doing that in what you're doing right now.
Thank you.
I do.
And I want to remind you, when I first met you, girl.
Yeah, tell me. I'm like a freaking tornado. Oh boy.
No,
like?
You were, no.
Or was
so
it was actually,
no, you were not quiet. No, it was that brunch.
Oh, girl.
You probably don't remember. Lavo.
Okay.
Lavo brunch. It was, man, this was like a year ago.
Oh, shoot. Girl. See, I'm a whole new person now, but can you talk to me just so I can refresh my spirit?
Yeah. I think it was a bunch of girls.
Okay.
Okay. When I met you, I knew you were the leader. I knew right away. Like this
in my pride phase. Yeah. In my ego
leading
pride phase.
leading the pack over here. So, but you were very enthusiastic and very welcoming and warming. You were one of very few that were that way. So I felt like, even though I don't know how you felt about your moment there, but I still felt like it was genuine. I didn't talk to you much. You were way over there. But that's where I first met you. I'm like, oh, okay, I don't know what she does, but you can tell she's a leader. So yeah, I just wanted to share that with you because I never told you that because you probably don't recall.
Man,
and it's okay.
No, and I appreciate you bringing up that moment because I feel like when you're walking in your truth, like one of my mentors, she tells me when you're walking in your magic, like walking in your pure intention, you're almost kind of blind to people and their reactions towards you. So when I'm in work mode, serve mode, it's like I black out in a good way.
Yeah.
I'm just like there to make sure everyone's having a good time, especially if it's any kind of meal. I'm Korean American, so I'm just like, okay, food is a bonding time. Food is community. However, in this city, you get both experiences. You get a brunch where the vibe is all great. Everyone's very comfortable and secure. Or, we live in the world, so you're going to have moments where not everyone's friendly. So I'm thankful that you had a positive experience or a positive encounter, even if it was from a distance. But I always tell myself too, it's the faith in me and it's the God in me that allows me to show up in that way. Because if it was just me and Jane and the flesh, I could have had a day. I could have had a hormonal moment, or I could have been fighting with loved ones, and I could have projected that to everyone. But I do a good job through discipline. Jane, unfortunately, your problems are not anyone else's problems. And your presence can positively or negatively affect somebody in that room. So yes, you could be going through something, but maybe that person just needed a pick me up, or maybe that person just needed you to check in. So I'm so thankful that every moment, including right now, we've always had just like this unspoken, very woman to woman sister bond where there's no ego, but more so like, hey, if we have time, I want to know you more. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Like we never had this weird thing where it's like, look at her, or she's so fit. It's like, oh my gosh, how are you? But very deeply authentic, not just high and by and I'll never see you again.
Yeah.
But it was always this like lingering spirit of like, okay, well, I'll see you again soon. It's like expectation of the next time. And I truly believe that is the spirit. I know some people call it the Holy Spirit, but I do believe people who believe in God or a God, when we are in the same room or presence with God, we have this like unspoken, hey, you too, how are you? Life's been tough. Oh my gosh, me too. But it doesn't have to be spoken in words.
Absolutely.
Even just our physical presence.
Yeah.
Like that's why I'm like very emotional right now, is we can already sense it. I'm sure you can sense it in me. I can sense it in you too. It's resilience, it's strength, but it's also spiritual vulnerability and this desire of like, I want to be better and I want to be healed even more. So without going too far on a tangent, tell me how even fitness and health changed your life. Because if I didn't have the gym girl, I'd probably be eating pasta, fried chicken, and probably having a bottle or two. But thank God for fitness in my church.
Yes.
So tell me how fitness has like showed up in your life and how it's changed your life too.
I have no idea where I got this from. I think when I was in 6th grade, I was always in sports, but I was always skinny, and I knew that lifting weights would make you get some shape on you. And so I just started, lifting stuff around my dad. We used to live on 82 acres. My dad would have like scrap metal lying around. So I just like lift that stuff. I don't know what I was doing. But after that, I just started lifting and working out all the time. But truthfully, it wasn't until like I did my show, the bodybuilding show here, where I really took it up a notch and changed my diet. Because before I thought I knew how to eat and I didn't. I mean, I still have a lot to learn, but now I know like how to shape my body to at least how I want it to. And I want to share that with other people, because I feel like a lot of women, I think they know what to eat. They'll eat like salads with chicken and douse it in ranch. Like, oh, I'm eating healthy, and they'll eat a bunch of almonds and like, but they don't really know how to achieve the shape because they don't know. But that's okay. And I want to share that, because we shouldn't be stingy with this, because I feel like there's like a lot of like, oh, I don't know if you see this like on social media. There's like a lot of like judgment, like if you really want it, you'll get after it. Da, da, da. This is true, but a lot of women maybe get demotivated because they don't really know, but they don't know that they don't know. That makes sense.
No, absolutely. And you hit a really good point, because when I met my husband, I was actually maybe humbly like 15 pounds heavier, but all fat and just Asian plumpness. And I remember telling him, I'm like, well, Korean culture, we eat Korean barbecue, we have a lot of seasoning, we eat lots of stews, lots of, what is it, sodium and MSG. Mm-hmm. But that's our culture. So that's just how we grew up. You don't not eat it. And of course, kimchi was probably the healthiest thing on the side. But I remember just not being educated on health food. Like, we ate for pleasure. We ate for fun. That's not a sin. But now that I'm in my 30s, it's like, oh my God, what you eat does show up. Mm-hmm. Like how you actually look in the mirror. So back to your point, my new joke too is we eat a lot of meat, a lot of protein, and a sprinkle of veggies or a sprinkle of greens, maybe. And at first, I'm like, wait, we should have a lot of salad or a lot of greens, but protein intake is huge. I don't want to sound like I'm an expert, but I have learned, I've even changed in my body just by upping protein and lifting weights. So tell us too about the myths of weightlifting, because I was so afraid to go to that area where all the dudes are. You know what I'm talking about. I'm like, I'm just going to be here on the treadmill, right? Do my little pumps. But why are people so intimidated about the weights and what's true and not true about weightlifting?
So when I moved here, I was on a restriction that I couldn't work out for several months, girl. And I had always lifted. So I come here, I go to Vegas, my first time at a gym in months. And there's, how Vegas, the gym's like, you have very good looking people here. And I hadn't gone to the gym, so I became like skinny fat, I guess I could call it. And I was terrified of going to the weight room, which is not me. I'm very confident when I go into the weight room, but I think it was nice. It was refreshing to be in that position, because now I know how women feel who aren't familiar, because you're intimidated because you don't want to go in there and look stupid. I guess that's what it is, right? And you just don't look the part. So you feel like you're out of place. So you just stick to your comfort zone. I don't know. Maybe you can answer that. What were your thoughts whenever you went to go work out?
Yeah, even now, I'm not blaming my scoliosis, but I used to all the time at the gym. I'm like, I don't know how to do form. It's like, okay, did you ever learn? Did you ever seek expertise? Mm-hmm. And I'm thinking, actually, no, but I saw something on Instagram, so I'm going to do that. But I've learned when you are fearful and even worse, do things the wrong way, you actually end up injuring your body and making it worse. So I've had many moments where I felt unworthy to go to like the big girl gyms and where the body lifters are, CrossFit. I think I tried CrossFit twice in my life, and I'm already paranoid. Like, I don't have ripped abs or hard definition yet. But I remember just talking to a random stranger that was working out there, and I was like, hey, can you show me how to do this correctly? And they were actually really delighted to help me. So I think we have to get away from this idea like, oh, I look stupid, and if I ask for help, I feel stupid. But actually, you're being wise when you ask for help, especially for someone who has done it. So I'm thankful to know somebody like you, because I want to dive into about just, the deep tissue stuff and all the maintenance. I know you do it on kids, but either way, I'm like, nobody talks about recovery and also the process of managing working out, because it's not just putting in work at the gym, it's also learning how to rest and recover. So I feel like people don't talk about that enough. So yeah, in a nutshell, I rally myself by posting like little workout videos. I put it on time lapse because I'm like, you don't need to see too much. But even that, it makes me reflect like, Jane, you do look great. Like you are making progress, because we're the worst enemy to ourselves, and we are truly blind to our progress. So that's why we need people like us that don't see each other often. But when we do, it's like, dang, girl, you look great. Or what's going on in your life? I'm here for you. Let's talk about it. So I'm so happy to know that we're in a better place. Yes. And that's all we can hope for, is even when we're down physically, mentally, and spiritually, to also honor those moments, because when we are in a healthier, more vibrant place, we can actually compare and say, whoa, I've been in a dark place and I know what it's like, but I'm so blessed, like truly to God, that we are where we are, because we know what it's like.
Yes. Oh, we've all been there. We've all been there. You said something about, I was wanting to go back to, you said something about healthy food.
Yes.
So I think a lot of people that I talk to, well, females, they'll say, oh, I'm trying to eat healthy and da da da. But there's a difference between eating healthy and eating to lose fat. Okay. So that's something that I think it's missed. So when, let's just say I'm talking to a female, right? And I'm trying to eat healthy. I eat this, and this. I'm like, yes, those foods are very dense in nutrients. But if you're going to eat like this handful of almonds and all this avocado toast, like, yeah, there's some nutrients in there, but it's not really, you're not going to really lose fat because you have to be in a caloric deficit, blah, blah, blah. So there is two separate, things there, eating healthy versus eating for a specific body comp.
I'm going to start using that. That's so funny. You said high in nutrients, right?
Yeah, nutrients dense. Like
that's a
dense.
Nice way to be like, girl, good try, but that's not it. But what would be, because it's Vegas, everyone's body conscious. What would be like your top 5 foods that you prefer to eat when it's fixating or focusing on weight loss and maybe toning up? Because we can all be skinny fat. Mm-hmm. But what would be like your top 5 if you could narrow it down?
So this is things I will say, sorry, this is a little bit off topic. It's important to hire a coach because I've learned so much from my coaches. I eat the same thing almost every day because he's doing this here.
That's why you look this good. Yeah.
Because I can gauge how my body responds to this food. Because if I eat all this clean food, it's different, salmon, da 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 da. And then all of a sudden I'm like bloated one day or something. I'm like, ooh, what was that? I don't know. Because it wasn't consistent. And then from there, I just cut my portions if I'm trying to do like a cut, or if I increase the rice, increase fat. Like I really eat the same thing all the time. But I have my moments where I cheat,
I'll invite you to brunch more. Yeah. Once in a while.
Yeah. So, sorry, my foods. Oh, right now I'm eating, bison. I love bison.
We eat bison too. So yay to that.
Yay.
Okay.
I like food that's easy to eat because it's easy to digest. So like ground turkey. This is going to sound so gross and nobody's going to do this, but I do this. I grind up my chicken in the blender because I make things with it. I make like chicken patties. I make chicken tenders, or I just cook it like ground chicken. It's so versatile. And
I'm going to try that.
Well, if it's easier to eat and masticate and break down in your mouth, it's going to be better on your tummy, therefore less bloat. And you're going to appear like you have a smaller waist, all that good stuff.
Yeah, because you're snatched right now. I'm like, your body, I've never seen, no, this is beautiful. I'm like, I've never seen it so snatched, but you practice what you preach, because this is not Photoshop. Like this is hard work.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, truly, you look great.
You're right. So how you were saying that people, they don't really see their progress, and maybe some people have like body dysmorphia. I think I have that.
We're going to keep each other accountable.
Right?
Okay? Yeah. Because when you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you eat the same meals, you're kind of consistent on this journey. So even if you've lost 5 pounds, or even if you gained muscle and you're at the dream weight and body shape that you're at, still, if you look at it every day, You're like, it's just another day.
You're,
Versus someone from
yeah,
the outside being like, girl, you've been putting in the work. I see you
yeah,
hitting the gym and you go hard.
I do.
So what's your top 3 workouts or even circuits that you do? I need to get on your level.
I love lunges. Lunges are my thing. What else? I've been loving the Stairmaster lately, and Bulgarian split squats.
So simple yet very impactful,
Yes.
right? Very effective.
Yes.
And if you do it right, it's very painful.
Yeah, it should be. You want to reach that level too. I think that's another thing I feel like women need to know is you got to push yourself in the gym. You can't just be repping it out, 3 sets of 12 and you didn't really feel anything. You got to push harder.
I'm really glad you're here right now because we haven't had like a health and nutrition, fitness enthusiast, occupational therapist industry person yet. So I'm really happy that you're sharing these kind of insights right now because people watching and listening, maybe they won't comment, but we're good looking women, but we're fit and healthy. We just look fit and healthy. It's not like we look anorexic or malnourished because that's a different category that we're not, going towards. But focusing on what it takes to live healthy, feel healthy, and doing it the right way, it's very refreshing because the last thing I want to see is girls not eating or, like you said, eating a bag of almonds. Like that's not it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm happy that, as a big sis or maybe a friend that these people may not have, I think it's important to focus on facts versus delusional reality. Like, oh, but everyone else is doing it, or this is what I'm seeing on Instagram. Okay, but are they legit certified trainers? Or are they just girls working out at home saying they're a fitness trainer? No offense.
Right. Well, I'm not even a trainer either.
But you have at least professional guidance and mentorship. So I count that.
Yeah. That was something else I was going to mention. I did my show and stuff, right?
Yeah.
I probably looked healthy, right? After that, I wasn't healthy.
Donuts?
No. Well, yeah, that too. That too, but bodybuilding's not healthy. It's not. But I want to do it again at some point. So what happened is I dieted. I was prepping for another show because I just was missing that lean look. And then I didn't compete. And then I prepped again for another show. And I was not mentally ready for a show. And my hormones were off. So I messed up my hormones with all that dieting because I wasn't eating enough fat for a prolonged amount of time, right? So I looked fit and healthy, but I wasn't healthy. So that's another important thing to consider.
Man, I'm glad you brought this up right now because I kind of envied those girls that did the competition. I've always loved working out and maintaining healthy body, but something in my spirit, I'm like, I'm not mature enough to go that far. So tell me also what inspired you into the competition and just your whole experience, because I'm sure there's fitness and health people that are, getting on this bandwagon of looking really good, but there could be a little bit of this obsession. I'm not saying you specifically, right, but even me, I've fallen into this where I start to obsess over this lean, skinny look, or all of a sudden my pants feel loose and it's never felt loose. But that adrenaline rush, like tell me your whole journey about competing and what it was like the good and bad.
It was actually really not. So the first coach, it was very, it wasn't your traditional chicken, rice, fish, all that stuff. I was eating like tortillas, cheese, and, it was not horrible. Now, in reality, a lot of preps don't look like that. It's like a lot, fit. You got your fish, your traditional food, which I actually eat that stuff already. It's just in lower quantities. It was tough. It's almost like a whole nother job. I couldn't handle it. That's another thing. Like I was prepping for it, but if you want to do a show, you have to be ready to not go out with friends. You have to be ready to, I have my son and I would take him out to eat and he wouldn't finish those. And I was so tempted to eat that, like you just have to be mentally prepared for that stuff. And then one thing is after you diet for so long, you got to be careful what you eat. You can't just go off and eat everything. So everybody was like, hey, let's go out to eat. Let's go out to eat after show. Okay, that was not a good idea because I actually, to this day, I gained a lot of weight. Not a lot. I gained some weight that it's just been a little bit harder to take off. I guess because I'm thicker. I don't know.
You're a woman now. I'm like, a woman starts getting whiter.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? Not fat, just whiter.
Just whiter, yes.
And the body just looks a little healthier than
yeah.
before. You're not like a, what is it? Skin and bones, like a little girl.
Yeah.
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 It's humbling, especially cultured women. It's like we're super lean and skinny naturally. And then we hit our 30s and beyond. It's like, dang, I'm starting to look like my mom from the backside, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? When I had my son, that's when I like got my curves. Because before that, I didn't have anything. I was so skinny.
Now, I'm going to ask you a very appropriate question. Don't laugh. But is your booty real? Because it's huge and I don't know where you got it. Is it genetics? Is it from the gym, the food, or all of the above? I have to know.
No, this is my butt. It's muscle, girl. No, but I just carry a lot of my weight there, and I worked really hard, and I know how to grow it because I know my anatomy down there, and I know what move. Once you know the anatomy to your body, you can do some weird stuff at the gym and grow it. I do some weird stuff.
God, you're gonna have to teach me your ways,
girl. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, maybe I should or shouldn't share this on the record, but I know that you're coming up with some sort of booty gain program or something of that nature. Share what you want, but are you going to have any kind of one-on-one coaching or maybe a team training? Because I'm sure people listening right now, especially the females and some of the men too, we're half naked in Vegas all the time.
Right.
So I am too much of a wussy to get surgery. So if I could do all the work that I can do to build, I would like to know, like, what are the secrets? What are you offering? So people like me, I don't know where to go. So I rather talk to you.
Yeah.
So yeah, what are you offering or planning to offer in the near future?
Right now, I'm doing online training, and it's a very basic 3-day plan of, growing your bottom. And I have a few girls. I still have my job and then my business and then my son. So I'm not trying to dive deep into it, but that's what I have going on right now. My goal with that is to get a bunch of women on the same page and ultimately build a community so we can inspire each other. And then I don't want to speak too soon, but I would love to just come up with an app with exercises that you traditionally wouldn't do to grow, your lower body that have worked for me.
I always tell myself, God gives all of us gifts and talents for a bigger reason than ourselves. So if you ever feel this desire to teach or you feel this desire to coach, that desire is not just you. It's like that God nudge inside you that's like, oh my gosh, I wonder what people might think, or I'm not sure if I have time for it. But that undying nudge inside is that God in you that's telling you, no, you can do it. So I'm all about elevating people. I'm all about helping people level up. And back to the whole purpose of this podcast, it's so simple yet so powerful. It's just simply this: helping others level up and create space to dream again. And I love that lingo. I love that word because sometimes adulting, we just do, pay the bills, go, especially being a single mom, which I want to ask next. But we have to dream again. It doesn't matter how old you are. So I am excited. I'm already going to manifest that. I'm already going to plant the seed. Let's get some fitness content. Let's start, game planning what's next, because that's going to inspire you to be a better mom.
Absolutely. Yes.
Doing what you love or doing those side projects that might eventually turn into your full job.
That is the goal.
Right.
And I love how you brought up, and so you went from, and I don't really know your full story. You're going to have to share with me outside of this.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you went from this, and then now you have all this stuff going on. You're like,
I'm stubborn, girl. I'm going to get it. If nobody's going to help me get it, I'm going to get it with the strength of God.
That. And truly. I'm the same way. So I grew up very poor. My parents were, my dad is from Mexico, and both of my parents my mom was a migrant baby. So my great grandparents traveled the United States and just worked in the fields, and they had my mom in Florida. So she was naturally a citizen. They came and worked in agriculture in Texas. They ended up, working for what they have. But when I grew up, I was instilled to work and have a family and raise my kids. No, like education wasn't really a big push or anything like that. I don't know why I decided to go that route, I went on to get my education, all that good stuff, and got out of that small town. And then now I'm here. So I, just like you have that drive and that energy. And it's amazing to share that, because maybe there's someone out there that's saying, I want to do that, but no, girl, you can do it. You can. What's stopping you? So I really value that in you.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're a go-getter.
No, and it takes one to know one. So I'm like, as you're talking, I'm receiving it, but I'm also like giving it back to you. You are the same. And it's trippy timing. God timing is always the best time. But today I was just, having a moment of reflection, and my sister-in-law sent me this random video on Instagram, and it was an interview with Molly Sims, the old model that's been around, not old as an age, but like she's been around forever. And it was an interview with Sierra, who also is very much about faith and God. But long story short, it was all about the idea of belief. It's like we often talk about belief of God or belief of the universe, or I believe in X, Y, and Z, but we don't preach enough about like believe in self, but not in a way where it's ego or pride driven, but just simply the belief in self. Not saying we're God or we're above God, but hey, I matter too. You matter too. So as you shared that beautiful compliment and words of affirmation, because that is one of my love languages, is we must first believe. Like, yes, we got to believe in God and a higher power. Absolutely. However, also, if we don't believe more than anybody, then what? We're going to just wait around for everybody else for validation. So I feel like it took me, 33 years to finally look at myself and say, Jane, I still struggle, but if you don't believe in yourself, why do you expect anyone else to believe in you? If you're not confident and secure in you, why would you expect someone to give you confidence and security? And that was like the biggest wake up call of my life and season right now is, wow, even when I press record on the podcast, it's like, Jane, I'm not here to have a script. I'm not here to perform or persuade anybody. But if I don't think that my voice and my words have power, then who am I to assume somebody listening or even a guest care about what I have to say? But if I believe, like truly believe at the core of my soul that I matter and my voice matters and what I speak has truth, weight, and power and can literally breathe life into people, then I'm going to own that. I'm not a preacher, but I'm going to use this platform to do my life work, which is to be a light worker, to be a connector of the divine, to allow people to unleash like a bigger version of themselves that they didn't even know was already inside. Like, I'm not a magician, but even as you're, being open and vulnerable with me, I want to continue to be that for the world around me. It's like, no, actually it's already in you. So even as I'm learning about you right now, I'm not shocked. It's more just like, oh, like teary-eyed emotional. Like, thank you. Like, thank you for releasing that. Like, thank you for feeling safe enough to be like, Jane, these are my desires. Even if I don't usually feel heard or seen, I feel seen and heard by you. So I'm going to tell you exactly what's on my mind. Like I said, I sense that with you, and I want more of that. Like, I want to create more memories, more moments with you where you can feel safe and heard. And hopefully this encounter and experience will make you shine even brighter in everything you do. And I know there's that saying, like, what would Jesus do? What would Jane do? But what would you do? And show up in that. So, yeah. So, I think I got choked up earlier too when you were just sharing about, kind of one of the reasons why you moved here, talking about a relationship, talking about being a single mom. Our culture, we are very prideful, so we don't show pain or sadness externally. So I'm very thankful for that. But even my mother worked her ass off to raise 4 beautiful kids, and we had help as well, but just like my mom worked so hard. We had male figures, of course, but just my mom worked so hard to make sure we were all very, straight and disciplined. So share what your heart desires, but can you share what the reality is of a single mom? Because I know you were sharing like all things you do. It's like you be a good mom, and that's how you kind of praise God as well. But what is it like? I can't even keep a plant alive, let alone a dog. I don't have a pet, but a human.
It is very challenging to do things. And also, so I have to take care of myself, right? I have to work, but I also have to make sure he's going to be ready when he's an adult. He's 15. I got 3 years. So truthfully, that's taking up a lot of my energy and time right now. So things like my career, actually, that's taking up my time too. So you could only imagine I don't have a lot of time to like date and do like stuff people my age are doing. Well, I'm 33. I don't really do anything. I just work and go to the gym, and I don't really just chill on the couch. That's nice. I did that the other day though. But stuff like that is very rare for me, where I'm just like, what are you doing? Oh, I'm just chilling. No, I'm not. I never do that. what that's like. But that's what it's like. It's a whole little human that you have to take care of. And then it's almost like a roommate too. He's a boy. I'm paying for all his stuff. He's eating all the food. And I had to make sure his grades are good, make sure he's on track with his extracurricular activities. It's like a little mini boyfriend that is mooching off of me.
Yeah. But man, I'm sure one of my other friends, she said it on the podcast, how like having a kid or being a single mom, it's like one of the hardest, most rewarding things. She was like, it's the best and the worst experience. And I'm not a mom, but I can only imagine that there is this interesting balance of like days where you're just looking at that angel and you're like, I'm so glad I birthed you. And I'm sure there's moments you're like, you're really testing my last nerve. So that's incredible. Now, for you, what has been the most rewarding aspects about being a single mom? Because there's always good and bad to every scenario.
I think everything that I do, I want my son to see like, oh, my mom did that. My mom's doing that. And I want him to pick up on, you can do anything you want to do, son. If you want to be this, you can do it. I want him to really pick that up. And that's been really rewarding because I think he's catching on to some of the things that I'm doing and acknowledging it. So that's really,
he's so handsome too. Yeah. I saw a couple
you.
Pictures and I'm like, oh, he's so handsome. And I know he's got 3 years till he has his freedom, but I feel like there's something powerful by being raised by a strong woman, especially a spiritual woman. And, you said it yourself, like the way you raise him, you are, that's kind of the way you love God and share God through your child, and everything else you do is, I truly believe too, when that kid grows up, he will recognize there was some sort of higher power, superpower, and then he'll realize, oh my God, it was God this whole time. And I know that sometimes people don't really know what they have till they're gone, but I just have this incredible feeling that when he is on his own one day, he knows like his mom was a unique one. His mom was a special one. Because how many women do get after their goals and get after their career? Like, you have every right to not care about those things because you got to raise your kid. So, I wanted to take a moment too to just like congratulate you, but also celebrate being a mother. Like, that in itself, I feel like is one of the best gifts that you can have. Like, God allowed you to have a healthy child.
Yes.
Right? There's no judgment on the when and the how, but thank God you're healthy. Thank God you were healthy. Thank God your boy is now turning into a fabulous young man in the making. I'm sure that's got to be hard.
Honestly, when he was little, it was hard. It's a different kind of hard now. It's actually harder, in my opinion.
No, and just even sharing your truth and reality, I can already sense people listening and watching. Maybe they're becoming a mom, or they recently became a mom and they're like, crap, how do I do this thing called motherhood? I feel like it's healthy to share reality, and also reality about, setting boundaries too. Like, everyone wants to be loving and nurturing, but I grew up with like helicopter parents and like tiger moms. So they're very overbearing, but there was more good than bad. But there was moments that are like, okay, you have to do it on your own. And even moving to Vegas, it gave me freedom to figure it out on my own. You know, I can't call mom and dad or brother or sister and be like, give me $1,000 for rent. I could, but just I have too much pride. So that's why I'm such a go-getter. But really, you know, I feel like there is healthy aspects to letting kids figure it out on their own, right? Like it's okay to let them fall or fail because now they'll get back up even stronger. But if we protect them from every little thing in life, will they ever be ready for the real world?
No, exactly.
Shoot, I wasn't. I was so sheltered. I'm like,
Me
this
too.
sucks.
Me too.
No wonder we get each other. I'm like, I'm happy, but at the same time, I'm like, where am I? What is this life? Just, I didn't know. Like the older you get, the wiser you get. I don't want to get into politics, but you do realize like a lot of life, you have to figure it out. A lot of life, you have to create it. So back to the whole faith, importance of faith in my life. I don't know what I would do without God or a relationship with something bigger than me. Because, man, girl, if it was just me and myself looking at the mirror, I am not enough. Like me alone, I am not enough. But I feel like faith and positive community, whether it's real life or podcasting, whatever it might be, I do feel like we need one another. So let's dive into this direction here. How do you seek clarity, and how do you feel like you get back on track when you feel like you're a little off?
Okay.
You're like, pause.
This happened the other day. This sounds so corny and cheesy, but I'm going to share it with you. I think, I don't know if God talks to you. Now, when God talks to me, this sounds so cheesy, I'm about to say it, but it's not like he's literally talking to me. It's like little subtle things. Like if I'm doing something, I have my Bible app. I'm not saying I'm over here sinning all over the place. That's not what's happening. But you know, you get off track. That Bible app pops up. I'm like, whoa, okay. And then sometimes I'll just crack open the Bible, and there's the scripture that just is telling me what to do. Or like the other day, I was running the Bible app, and it was just playing in the background at night, and I woke up and it was saying like, oh, how do you know? So just like little things like that are very gentle reminders. And then just even people being in your life, like you know, you reached out to me, and I know you walk with the Lord. Little things like that kind of bring you back in, right?
Oh, I love that. And that's a good point. I feel like I used to think like church and God was like all about religion. And I remember people saying that like, God spoke to me, and I would cry. And I'm like, what? God never spoke to me. I don't know his voice. I mean, I only hear my voice because I'm crazy and I talk to myself. But back to your point, I feel like God uses people, things, and, you know, I know some people call it signs, but for me, I call it like God nudge, or someone told me too. It's like when God winks at you. You don't literally like see it, but you see that little like wink, like, oh, I think that was from God kind of thing. So I truly believe, you know, I know manifestation too, that's like a big word going on right now, but tying it back to God vision as well, like understanding what is for you, understanding what you desire. I truly believe like even in our mess, even when we're off track, we're still seeking to get better. We're still seeking personal growth, personal development, closer to God. And so I believe as long as your mind is there, you will get that information back. So that's the irony of people like us who grew up in the faith. Is sure, we have hiccups and moments, but the beauty of it all is our core always desires better. It's not like we just sit in sin or we sit in a funk and it's like, okay, I'm just going to camp here for the rest of my life. It's like, okay, God, I'm not praying out loud, but my spirit is telling me I need to get better or I need to be redirected. So I just try to stay in my God thinking versus me thinking, because me thinking is like, oh, I'm not where I want to be, or I'm stupid, or I did this and that. And then it puts me in like a negative spiral versus, okay, what would God think? What would God say? Right? If God literally came into this room, what would he say? He would probably be encouraging and say, you know what, girls, I know you're probably not on track right now, but pick it up. Let's keep it moving. So I try to always be that for people and remind people like it doesn't matter where you're at. We are all moving forward to a better direction. So that's why even our dinners and any encounters, I don't care about the temporary situation. It's more like I care about your wellness, your well-being, your spirit, and then we just keep it moving. You might be like, girl, I mean, you know, I'm sure you've encountered me where I'm not in the best time, or maybe I've encountered you where you're not in the best place, but it's all temporary, right? So I have to remind myself, and we can remind each other that even the worst of times, everything is temporary. So we might as well lean into God, and we might as well have more faith and courage, because if the dark moments are temporary, then we should have peace and joy and hope, knowing, hey, I'm being a really awful human right now, hormones or life situations, but tomorrow will be better. But claiming it like it will be better, not I hope it's better. So I think that's the beauty of just even our mindset, is when we speak it, when we believe it, then when it happens, it's like, should we be surprised? Like even today, I was so eager to see you and catch up with you, but also just be what we've been being, which is just real and raw, share whatever we can. So what I always like to ask everybody kind of as we wrap it up for now, because I love you and I can't wait to like dig deeper, what would be the 3 greatest life lessons that you've learned thus far in your life?
I would say no, don't people please. Or if you do it, you need to be more mindful of it. It's a waste of time, honestly. Another one would be, if you want something, just go do it. What is stopping you? That's a big one, because you can come from nothing, but you can do what you want to be. Like if you want to, just like you, I mean, just like me. Another one is be picky with your time. Time not only is money, but our time, we can't take that back. So don't waste your energy or your time on people who are not going to bring value to your life. That's a big one, because I feel like I've wasted a lot of time, not just with, males, females. I feel like aligning yourself with people who maybe have similar goals or who are moving up and not stagnant is going to bring you down. That's a big one.
Dang, those are good.
Yeah.
Amen to that.
Yes.
Shoot. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast. This
welcome.
is like one of many. And you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I just kind of got lost in the trance of our conversation. But yeah, please make sure to support her. We'll link her Instagram down below. And as we mentioned, she has a couple projects coming up. I'm going to keep her accountable, get that content going as well. So until next time, protect your peace, keep shining your light. Thank you so much for watching.